There's chocolate.
Oh, hi.
I don't think that's fair. Would you like one?
I think you're going to be asked if you want one.
Scared to eat a brownie in Colorado.
I swear they're clean.
That's the stretch to soil.
The what?
Stretch to soil.
Okay, we're gonna access, so we're gonna table that, because George is under the impression that maybe you have some more discussion with him when we got back.
Bob's
I'll do that.
okay.
behind.
Oh,
Go ahead. All right, it is around 7 o'clock. Welcome to our city council meeting. It's a regular council meeting, August 12, 2019. Thanks, everybody. I know everybody's here for the audit update. Can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Here.
Scott Fennell, Tracy Stokes. Here. Bob Boland.
Here.
John Curtis.
Please stand with us for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Before we get into the regular meeting too far, I would like to put out there that last week I made a comment here in our meeting about the planning commission getting an invitation to our meeting was it last week, 2 weeks ago? It was all on me. I did not communicate well with our city administrator on how to put that email out. And I may have said that I was surprised that maybe that some members of the planning commission was not present in the meeting. And I'm putting in the all in my bag that I didn't communicate well enough with our administrator. And I'm making a public apology to those board members. So, okay. So now we'll get into the agenda approvals. We will be tabling the ordinance second reading, ordinance number 15, and that's the scratch the soil contract. We're going to table that until Andy gets back because there were still some things that scratch the soil leadership and the city was talking with before we finalize that document. So we'll take that on. Other than that, do I have a motion for the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda for the August 12th, 2019 meeting.
And do I have a second? Second. Discussion?
You're gonna have,
As amended?
As amended.
Bob?
you're gonna have the action item for,
The request for the CCD credit? We'll just do it under the public comment.
okay,
It's already on the agenda. We'll just do it as an action item there. As amended, second as amended?
Oh, yes, I was amended, I'm sorry, yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, does any of council feel they have a conflict of interest with our agenda tonight? Hearing none, we'll move to the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes from July 22nd and July 29th,
Do I have a,
2019.
do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, discussion.
Okay.
Alright, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on to the bills.
we'll approve the bills to August 12th, 2019, and salaries for June 2019.
Do I have a second? Motion is second. Does anybody in the council have questions on the bills, please?
Under salaries with Jason and Michael here, the whole quarter. You got them down for the whole amount.
For that quarter, yes.
They were for the whole, okay, I just thought they were coming for it.
Yeah, I think they were probably here for the
Okay.
Tracy?
Page 10, third from the bottom. Is that the sign repair we did in conjunction with vandalism?
East End Cinery. No, I think the wind had taken off one of the panels, built it around. Is that correct, John?
To some extent, yes.
Oh, that's only $90. No, that's $1,600.
We had a little mishap with a loader at ACC down by the pit. So we had to do some repairs on the electrical panel. So that's what that was.
Okay.
Anybody see anything else that they'd like to ask about? We see that the Liberty Communications, we have our new phone system installed. How's that working out, staff?
Still getting used to it.
Still getting used to it? I know you can see who calls now.
Yes.
I get the answer, oh, hey Mayor, it's you.
Got one thumbs up out there anyway.
Okay, anything else, council? Hearing none, I need roll call?
Martin Hillman?
Yes.
Scott Pennell? Tracy Stokes?
Yes.
Rob Boland?
Yes.
Jeff Hurd?
All right. Do I have any unscheduled public comment? John?
Yes.
Margie Marlin? State your name for us and where you reside, please.
Margie Brown, I reside at 633 Pine Slope. I am making a statement about my feelings about the development going on in town. And I'm very grateful for the planning planner in town and for the council and all the decisions that we have to make. And I've attended many meetings and I hear the community saying over and over again, please slow down, please slow down. And what we're looking at is a change of the face of our community forever. And it's not just, can we get in and out safely in the parking lot, it's about the community, the people, and how we interact with each other. And so I've been doing some research, and what I can figure is we have about 717 homes in various stages of planning in this community, 222 apartment rentals, 25 homes, 170 townhomes, and 300 condos. And when I was reading the housing needs assessment on page 26, there's a really convenient chart, but I've been reading through it. And it basically says that we need about 300 units over the next 10 years for all of Clear Creek County. And I do understand we have some really sad infrastructure in this community where people are living in really substandard situations that we need to fix. But here in Idaho Springs alone, we have the River Bend, which is 47 units, almost totaling 2 years worth of work for the entire county. And I'm just saying that when we slow down, maybe put a moratorium on developers so that the community can be more a part of planning how we really want that to look, where we want these buildings to go, what would be the first place to develop, what would be the second place to develop. Do we need metro districts? Do we need, an urban renewal? What are the other avenues? And I know you guys have probably been doing this for a long time, and we're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but I would like to be a part of that, and I'm just requesting that maybe consider that as something for the future, or for now.
Thanks for your comments, Marge. Okay, we will move down to public comment. Jim Bill Wonderlet, and you were asking for some relief, and you kind of gave us story of what the property used for and what happened with the flappers sticking in lots of water. And as we said, we all usually and mostly waive the sewer fees.
Right.
And the reason that I tabled it, because this is a little different than we've seen, because it was coming through Chicago Creek.
Right.
So what we have done is council has agreed to go ahead and reimburse to Chicago Creek Sand the 40160 to help you out.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll have a council member give us a motion, please.
Yeah, I would move that the city of Idaho Springs credit the Chicago Creek Sanitation District $401.60 for accidental overage in water usage. And this is for the sewer side of the bill, for the Jim and Bill Wonderlic account. That's for the July bill.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second on this, on the table. Discussion. Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Michael Helen,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes,
Yes.
Bob Baldwin,
Yes.
John Curtis.
All right.
Thank you very
Put that
much.
credit for you.
And nothing on the water side?
And we have made, not a policy, but we've never, because it does cost us money to
Right.
produce the water. So we stood strong on, still having to charge for the water.
Okay, thank you very much. I
All right.
appreciate your
You bet,
consideration.
thank you. Our next item on our public comment is the Coast Guard food size tray deviation request. And, what's your name?
Jim.
Jim, yeah.
Yes,
Come on up,
my-
Jim.
My wife made these, and we're a food company, so I figured.
I said it, Brian.
It's official.
Maybe.
Thank you so much, maybe after council.
Yeah, actually, maybe just pass them around.
Thank you so much, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Oh,
So, good evening. My name is Jim, and my wife and I own the food trailer Coast Guard Foods, which offers both your hot foods for on-site consumption, as well as grocery-style refrigerator takeaway meals for later. All meals are made with clean, simple ingredients, and we always offer options for vegans, gluten-free diets, as well as meat lovers. My wife Bridget is traveling this week, but sends regards to the town and council. East Colorado Boulevard has seen incredible improvements over the past few years, and while CDOT information shows that 1 in 8 cars stop at exit 241, our estimates show that a little under 50% of those cars return to the highway before passing the subway on Gilson Avenue. This means as the road is as beautiful and walkable as it's ever been, only 1 in 6 East End businesses see this traffic, many of them being larger international corporations. One major issue that many drivers don't look past that we're seeing is that they don't look past the tow trucks, the gas stations to understand the progress middle on the street, to really see the progress middle on the street, and the variety of local businesses situated there. We're confident that our healthy and internationally inspired menu will draw people into Idaho Springs and other cars. We expect most of our visitors to be driven, however, by the design of our build. Postcard Foods was inspired by the American road trip. You may notice on the face of our trailers designed to resemble the back of a postcard, and the greetings from Colorado top is a way for customers to share their experience through social media. We plan on installing a bench to allow customers to Instagram and Facebook their own e-cards using force perspective. While physical postcards can reach an audience of 3 to 4, we're hoping that Instagram can reach an audience that's much larger. Yes, we sell food, but what we really specialize is creating an experience. As we draw out-of-state visitors and Front Range-based weekenders, we expect the business immediately surrounding will see a 30 to 40% increase in foot traffic on East Colorado Boulevard. As customers await their food and create their own messages using dry erase boards, a crowd will form of other motorists which will take notice and travel further down Colorado Boulevard to also take part in the experience. Right now we're in talks with a number of locations along I-70 between Golden and Silverthorne, but we very much, however, prefer to be placed in Idaho Springs, where we can become part of the town's community and share in its growth. We have 4 East End sites in mind. Both Bridget and I, as well as Alan Tiefenbach, strongly believe that our aesthetic is absolutely perfect for East Colorado Boulevard. In fact, our Roadside America, Route 66, Googie architecture-inspired trailer is exactly what is called for in both the LDR as well as the East Action Plan. One hurdle, however, is that in speaking with Alan and Diane, we found a prohibitive line item. Section 9 of the City Code states that food trailers are limited to a 10 by 10 by 10 box. While our trailer actually takes up less volume, the body overextends the length by 3 feet. It's worth noting, too, that the codes are out of date with current standards. A typical mobile food unit measures between 14 and 34 feet in length, according to foodtrucker.com, which is the most prominent source in our industry. For this, and for how closely our business model aligns with that of Idaho Springs and its vision for the East End, we'd like to ask for a variance to the rule to allow for up to a 14-foot trailer, or 17 including the coupler, as well as a 13-foot height. Thank you so much for allowing me the time, and we look forward to your decision.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Holster Mayberry Company. We're going to hear our audit report from 2018.
I didn't ask you if you wanted a short presentation or long. I was going to go with a short one.
Ask the audience.
I know they want the short one. Okay, so we do have the 2018 audit report. I'm not going to go through the numbers a lot. I'm Tim Mayberry, by the way. I've been here. I don't know if you all remember. I'm not going to go through the number of the lives. You have more current numbers at this point with your monthly financial statements. I do want to highlight some of the issues that we had to go through, or that the town is, our city is now going through. As you're aware, you're doing a lot of construction projects. That created some issues for last year. It's created some issues going forward. Nothing that the city can't handle. But overall, financially, we have no real concerns over where the town is at, or where the city is at. Sorry, I keep slipping. Where the city is at financially. General fund, you're very healthy there. The majority of your funds, governmental funds, are construction or capital related. The ramp fund, sales tax improvement, and 1% sales tax. Those funds are primarily, a lot of that is used towards capital. And again, that's just going to come in, and it's going to come in, and you're going to spend it as it comes through. Not necessarily operating dollars per se. There may be some operating in there, but for the most part, you're going to see those balances adjust each year depending on what capital project you're doing. Conservation Trust is one of your smaller funds. I think you have $45,000 to be carrying forward there. General fund, as I said, you have roughly $2.5 million. Ramp, you had spent down to $1.3 million. Sales tax, you were at $3.5 million at the end of the year. And street, 1% street, you still had $8.5 million, or just under $8.5 million. One of the issues though that we ran into in one of our suggestions is, because a lot of your projects are capital related or larger invoices potentially from a contractor, what happens is, if you happen to have invoices come in right at the end of the year so that the work is done in one year but paid in the next year, it potentially causes budget issues. It caused budget issues, so you have some budget violations for last year, primarily related to those type activities. So what we're recommending is, as you're working on your 2020 budget, look at your 2019, make sure you've got some cushion in there on the off chance you have some of those construction costs that will not have wrapped up by the end of the year, just to make sure that you don't have a budget violation. Our other main thing is related to your sewer project that you're going through. There are certain requirements, both legal and financial, to make sure that you comply with TABOR and maintain your TABOR enterprise status. That was a lot of the adjustments or the delay, not necessarily delay, but trying to make sure that you're in good shape for 2018, that you qualify as a TABOR enterprise if possible, making sure that you're going to qualify as a TABOR enterprise for 2019, because we don't want to jeopardize any of your future funding. So it's going to be an ongoing challenge, is to make sure that your timing of some of those receipts come in appropriately, so that it does not cause a problem with that TABOR enterprise status, because we don't want to jeopardize again any of your funding sources. With that in mind though, and this is another unique aspect of how the city's financials are presented, internally you have a water and a sewer wastewater capital, as well as a water wastewater operations. We can't present those individually in a GAAP financial presentation. You can, for budget purposes, keep track of it that way. We have to combine wastewater capital and wastewater operations together. Same thing with water for this presentation. Because you spent significant funds in 2018 towards sewer projects, you actually ended up in the hole in sewer fund on an unrestricted basis. You have equity in wastewater, but it's in capital. It's in your plant and systems. That is probably going to wash itself out over the next couple of years as you start getting some of those grant reimbursements come in. But again, because of timing, you have to watch when the grant comes in versus when you spend your money. You spent your money in 2018, you're going to draw some of your grant money in 2019. We're trying to figure out how much you can draw to keep in your TABOR enterprise. But if you look, sewer actually has an unrestricted deficit of about $1 million for last year. You're actually, again, because we're combining those two, you're probably still going to have that, or sewer is just going to look weird for the next couple of years as you're doing this project. Provided you get those resources in, it should take care of itself, it should wash itself out, but you definitely want to keep in touch and make sure that your bond counsel and your engineer and everybody's on the same page as far as when to draw funds, when to make sure everything is properly accounted for. And we've had conference calls and lots of emails back and forth trying to make sure everything is positioned correctly. But for right now, sewer does have a deficit for last year. You potentially will still have a deficit for this year because there's only so much grant dollars that you can draw during 2019. And again, I think bond counsel or council's main idea was we wanted to make sure that 2019 qualified as a Tabor enterprise so that you're not jeopardizing any loan money you might be drawing or receiving during 2020. So again, there's a method to the madness, but it makes 2018 look bad. Also, if you remember, probably at the last meeting, you guys approved the actual loan between wastewater and, help me out, Sandy. Sales tax? Wasn't sales tax that paid for the, but you are, what you did is you bought the plant site
Oh, okay.
that is going to be used for a public works facility and for the wastewater treatment plant expansion. Wastewater didn't actually pay their share of that during 2018. So we had to coordinate actually formalizing that you have a loan agreement between wastewater and, like I said, I was thinking it was sales tax, but I can't remember.
It's the land, yeah.
But you'll have to pay that back over time. Or there's a potential for, I'm not sure exactly what your final wording was, there's a potential for forgiveness, but the problem is any forgiveness by a general fund or a governmental fund to a wastewater becomes a contribution that is subject to Tabor. So if you're trying to get state grants, you got to limit what the rest of the city can provide as far as additional. So that is a new loan that's sitting out there. You already had some existing 20-year debt that was there. You just have a new loan for their half of that plan. Again, knowing that that is still up in the air as far as the actual final cost, that may adjust a little bit going forward whenever you guys come up with a final number, but that's still sitting there for right now.
It was the purchase of the cement plant that he's talking about,
Yeah.
and then when it's finalized with the county, we'll have to make that adjustment.
Yeah, so you may adjust. I think sewer could pay their
That would
portion.
stay out of our general fund, right?
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, is transferring an interfund loan, so.
So eventually sewer will pay for it. It's just to get, again, all the positioning correct for Tabor. You were not able to, sewer didn't have the money in 2018. And if you, again, wanted to contribute that by the other funds, you want to avoid years when you're getting large state grants. And that's the key, is making sure that you're not jeopardizing any of that free and or low interest money that you're getting for loans going forward. And there were certain requirements, and that's why we were trying to work with your lender as well. Okay, where does the city need to be to make sure that there's no concerns with that additional borrow? So
It seems to me this would be a fairly common problem around Colorado with Tabor.
it is. The biggest thing is you don't have significant amounts of user charges. And it's basically contingent on, you can only receive a certain percentage of your local revenue or your user charge revenue. So you have, in a good way, you have such low fees that you don't have a big cushion to be able to take a lot of grant. So we really have to manage that you don't get too much grant to exceed that 10% limit. So it's more because you're not generating as much with user fees that it really hamstrings you as far as how much state grant money you get. You can take as much federal grant money as you want, you just can't take the state money, and your other funds cannot contribute to. The other thing to keep in mind, and again, you're actually good for last year, you have a rate stabilization reserve which helps make sure that you're in compliance with your water debt. Going forward, that is now a water wastewater combined debt. So depending upon how your stuff comes through, you have access to that to make sure that you meet your debt covenants. I think there's about $650,000 sitting there. But that may be something as you go through this, depending upon when rates adjust and where you're at, you may have to use that. But you're now going to be looking at a combined water, wastewater, where are we at?
That puts us in bigger jeopardy, it sounds like.
It actually helps a little bit because you have more revenue between the two funds combined, so you can take more state grant money. But yes, you definitely now have to look at, and from our perspective, we always want to say, make sure that water pays for itself, make sure that wastewater pays for itself. So you're still going to have the internal tracking mechanism to make sure, but your lender wants to make sure that they have more security.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's the lender that says, we want to have more security, so let's look at water and wastewater combined, whereas you guys will still internally look at water operation versus wastewater operation, and even more granular, water operation and water capital, separate from wastewater operation and wastewater. And our biggest thing is capital, provided you've got the resources coming in, will take care of itself, but you always want to make sure that your water rates are covering your water cost, your water operating costs, your sewer rates are covering your sewer operating costs. Last but not least, and this is more because we didn't think we would ever get Sandy back out of the process. Because you guys are doing so many different projects last year. You're adding a skid or redoing a skid, you're doing preliminary engineering, you're doing trail projects, you're doing this, that, and the other. We are recommending, and I think you guys are already working on it, somehow tracking your project costs internally or your capital by project. Right now, the way you're budgeting, you had a couple lines that everything went into. And then consequently, as we were trying to go through the audit, we said, okay, we need to know if this invoice goes to this project or that project. You've evidently worked with your software vendor and you've come up with a way to be able to say, here's all the costs for this project separate. And then when we come in, it's like, okay, here's the total for the project. You may not see it in the financials, but we will be able to track it internally so that we can say, this is this project. And that way we don't have to pull every single invoice because we ended up pulling way too many invoices. And she was buried behind stacks of files and we're trying to make it easier. So, unless you don't want us to make it easier, we can.
Hey.
It'd be really good to have the breakouts.
Yeah, I was going to say that way, because I know internally you guys probably have an idea of what you're planning on spending by each project, and it'd be nice to be able to, and again, that's where, as part of your 2020 budget, you may want to look at line item budgets. Just make sure, even if you don't do that, just make sure you have an idea so that we can then track it internally at least, to say this is how much this project is. And you don't want to get your monthly financials too cumbersome. But you want to be able to ask at any point in time, hey, where are we at on this project, where are we at on that project, and hopefully going forward you'll be able to do that.
Yes, I learned my lesson, so.
She was not happy with the auditors by the end of the week, I guarantee you that.
That was just a software adjustment inside Cassell.
Well, I did call Cassell, and of course they wanted more money.
Right.
They have a
I
module,
just
yeah.
odd kind of thing, but I did work with someone and we found a way to do that. So when I enter a bill and it says Project 1 expansion, I know I have it all numbered out and I know which number to plug that into.
Great.
And then I can do a report. If it's a greenway, I have it broken out into as many projects as I think we're covering, which is the greenway, the wastewater expansion, Soda Creek, Minor Street, all that stuff. So.
And we actually caught that fortunately early enough that you only have a couple months, 2-3 months that you have to go back and catch for 2000.
So I think it'll work.
For 2000.
So I think next year when I can pull up a report that has all the invoices related to the wastewater expansion project 1, for all the invoices, and it's been helpful as well because, as you know, some of our grants are reimbursable.
Right.
And so when Andy asked for all the invoices related to the Greenway, I can pull those. And then he makes copies and we do a reimbursement for that. So I learned a lot from the audit on that.
Even though it's painful, we do appreciate all your help.
And that's working out really well.
So your overall position of the city would be,
You're healthy in all funds except for sewer.
which is, and that's just
And that's hopefully.
watching how those bills are paid, timing
Yeah.
the bills. And
Yep, but definitely keep an eye on, I mean, that's a big project. Just keep an eye on that project, make sure, and again, that kind of gets back to where's our budgets at and when are we drawing funds and how much is coming from grant, how much is coming from loan, how much is coming from us. Although you didn't have anything at the end of the year to put in, but that's the stuff that you're gonna wanna keep an eye on as you're completing that project. And again, I'm trying to prep you that for 2019, we may have the exact same issue, but again, the primary thing is the city is trying to make sure that you're in compliance legally with everything that you have to do. And that's part of what we were trying to do. Okay, what do you need to do legally and can we do it financially? And trying to make sure everybody's on the same page. And you just need to continue that process to make sure that there's nothing close to the end of 2019 that's going to cause a problem with 2019. Where are we at for billing and grant reimbursement requests? And so we had a preliminary discussion of here's where we're at, but we need to keep having those discussions to make sure it doesn't create any issues. So.
Any more questions for Tim, council?
Comment, I would like to thank you for something he said, that the Boland's included with all the other consumers of water and using the wastewater plant. The bills do not seem lean and mean. And I appreciate your unsolicited comments about how low our user rates are.
Yeah, you do not have a lot of user charges and you were saying, okay, this should be common.
Yeah.
But a lot of other places have more revenue and
Oh,
therefore
boy.
they can take more grant and
Yeah.
you guys are just limited. You're trying to do a very big project with a relatively tiny operation.
Yeah, we have to do it with the project.
Yeah.
There's no choice. So, but anyway, I appreciate that, because it's a hard message to get out.
Yeah.
Do we have this on our website, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so anybody in the audience who wants to take a look at our financial statements and our auditor's report, you can go to our website.
On the forms and documents page, and you can also search it in the top search bar in the top right corner.
I haven't given you the
Oh,
2018.
okay. Well, we'll send this in.
But it's, well, we
The other
want
one
to make
is-
sure you guys are
Oh,
okay with that before we post it.
Sorry.
So it's not on there.
It will be up there tonight.
After we approve it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, if you approve it. And that's
Okay.
it. And I just have one more comment that, what Jim was talking about, the wastewater and how it looks kind of ugly right now. So on my spreadsheet, my financial report spreadsheet that I give you guys each month, you will notice that the wastewater is in a negative balance, and that's why Tim was explaining that. So it will be because of the big hit
Big
on the
project and the way that the grants are being reimbursed and paid back.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Tim.
And as always, if you guys ever have questions during the year, and we're definitely working with staff to make sure that we keep you where you need. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. All right, council, I need a motion.
Move to approve the 2018 audit as presented by Holscher, Mayberry and Company.
I have a second. Motion and a second. And last chance for discussion, comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes. All right. Now we will be going into, out of our regular council into the liquor licensing authority. We will be having a public hearing tonight. This is a continuance of our last meeting where when liquor licensings or transfers or modifications, we like to have the applicant present. So let me read my little spiel before you come up, Bruce.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, this hearing is under order. This is a public hearing before the Liquor License Authority of the City of Idaho Springs to take testimony for consideration to approve an application for a change of location for Hard Luck Colorado Division LLC, doing business as Pickaxe Pizza located at 1640 Minor Street. The applicant and anyone giving testimony will be sworn in by the city clerk, and we'll have the staff report, applicant testimony, public comment, or testimony. This hearing is now declared open at 7:32. Can't look at that clock up there. And I'm ready for our staff report.
Mayor and Council, the application
It's in accordance with CRS 44-3-311. The notice of public hearing to be held by the Liquor Authority concerning the above referenced application was published in the Clear Creek Current on July 3rd, 2019, marked as Exhibit A, and was posted on the premises of the new proposed location on July 11th, 2019. The results of the investigation are outlined in my administrative report.
All right. Thank you, Diane. Is there any testimony, does the chief have to do anything for this change of location? Testimony? Applicant, please come up and state your name and where you reside, please. And Diane's going to swear you in first.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Sure.
My name's Bruce. I own Pickaxe Pizza. I live here in Idaho Springs up on top of the mountain. And
Your address, please.
508 Alice Road.
And just kind of give us the scenario, what's going on, and
Just trying to get the new location open and trying to transfer the license from 1637 Minor Street to 1640 Minor Street.
for the public, this is actually just a change of venue, one address to another.
Yeah, that's all it is. Right across the street.
Diane, did premise and storage and serving areas have to be provided with this change of location?
A drawing of the premises, licensed premises, yes.
Was submitted to us? Okay. It is. And just do everything on one side of the paper. Okay, I'm open for public testimony. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make comment?
There's
or-
nobody signed up.
Oh, there's nobody signed up? Okay. All right. Thanks, Bruce. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you.
Does council have any questions for the applicant? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, it is now 7:35, and this hearing is now closed. Now we'll open it up for council discussion. Have anything, comments?
No, I'm sure across the street.
All right, I need a motion.
I move to approve the application for change in location for the existing hotel and restaurant liquor license issued to Hard Loaf Division LLC, DBA Pickaxe Pizza, from 1637 Minor Street to 1640 Minor Street, Idaho Springs, Colorado, based on a finding that all requirements of CRS 44, 3, 312, and 313 and of the city code have been met under the following condition and requirement of the Colorado Liquor Code. No license shall be issued by the city until the building in which the new business is to be conducted is ready for occupancy with such furniture, fixtures, and equipment in place as is necessary to comply with the applicable provisions of the Colorado Liquor Code, and then only after inspection of the premises has been made by the city to determine that as-built licensed premises complies with all submitted plans and requirements.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Michael Helen.
Yes.
Scott Liddell, Tracy Stokes.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
You got your transfer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. All right, we will move on down to we tabled the ordinance second reading. So
You guys all enjoy your evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
So we're going to go all the way down to City Clerk.
If you could state when you're tabling ordinance 15-2.
To our next regular meeting, which would be I think the 9th or 26th.
We gotta make a motion.
You did the last time, so I feel comfortable.
Okay, well, let's
with
make a motion with a date certain. What date would that be? So 2 weeks from
August
today?
26th.
August 26th. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve extending the second reading of order number 13, series 2019 to August 26, 2019.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay, staff report.
Mayor and Council, I have my staff report for your review with one request for action to approve the IJ with Clear Creek County for the 2019 coordinated election.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the IGA of Clear Creek County to participate in the November 5th, 2019 coordinated election.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Michael Holmes?
Yes.
Beth Manel, Tracy Stokes?
Yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
John Curtis?
In our package, we found a sales tax report. These numbers reflect, even though it's under August, it reflects 2 months behind. So this is June numbers. Shows we were up, as we said, 4.18%, about $11,000 for the month of June. Even with the weather that we had through the month of June, it's still snowing up here and cool to be up a little bit. I'm a little surprised, but it's good to know that we're still up citywide on our sales tax. Any comment or discussion on that? All right.
I just have one other item.
SDR complaint?
I'm sorry?
Is there something else on the sales tax?
No.
No, the
Just
SDR
one
complaint?
other item I'd like to discuss with council.
Is that the one that's listed here? The SDR complaint?
No.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
This is from a gentleman, James Blair, who resides at Riverside Townhomes, who presented me with this email. And as council knows, this is the second problem we've had with people saying that as short-term rental applicants do not live at their premises. I've had discussion with the city attorney about it, and it's a process. It's going to be a process to determine residency. It's a rather complicated thing to do, and it's going to take, I think, maybe a work session with council about how council wants to proceed.
Okay. Thank you. We'll get that on our next work session. Making a note of that, John, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And you have one more item?
I do. I respectfully ask council to give direction to the applicant tonight from Postcard Foods Trailer about whether you are going to discuss that request in a work session, or he was asking for a variance
So
tonight.
is this a variance or a new ordinance? Alan, I'll ask you about that.
It's not technically a variance because variances, the municipal code says that variances can only be granted from the land development regulation. This is in the business licenses chapter, so there's not really a procedure for it. But I wasn't comfortable approving anything that said in the code that it can only be 10 feet long. So he's asking to have 13 feet.
So this criteria is an ordinance. Is this the ordinance?
It is
Within
in
our
the municipal
municipal
code
Oh, yeah.
under the vendors that a food trailer can't be more than 10 feet long.
So for us to modify that, I think we have to have a notice because we're modifying an ordinance.
Well, you have granted requests from organizations and groups before of things that are in the municipal code. You've allowed them to do what the municipal code says you can't do. So I think that kind of falls in line.
But didn't that pertain to specific, like finite circumstances and not something long-term that actually adjusts the code going forward?
Yes.
Because we're making an adjustment in the code going forward.
You're granting him a relief from the municipal
An
code.
exception.
Yes.
Or is this gonna be temporary or permanent, or,
I
I mean, if we're gonna
anticipate
change the code, I think we need to have more, I don't know, I feel we need.
Some more session.
Well, a work session, or
Okay.
change the ordinance
because
or
this is not the
something.
first time we're gonna have this. I think that it is outdated in terms of the actual.
The length of the
And
height.
since we haven't had a lot of this type of activity, we're gonna need to get
The
this.
code certainly
correct.
does not address food trucks, and it's becoming, a trend. It's currently under the vendor section
Right.
in the municipal code, which, in my opinion, it doesn't even cover food trucks. And being that it is, becoming a trend, I think council does need to.
Will you go to the variance committee? First,
No, this is really not
It's not a real
variance is very specific on the criteria that you can even.
no,
So I don't think.
why don't you do it?
Let's only listen to a work
You know.
session, because I wanna make sure, I wanna talk to council and to see if we need to modify the ordinance and approve a new ordinance for this.
Sounds like some of the food trucks are more than twice as long as what we allow.
Right, and there's other things too, going forward, when I pulled, the Denver ordinances, there were just a huge section in there regarding sanitation and cleaning and maintenance and all these different kinds of things that were addressed, because that's what's happening there, because this is just now coming on here, we're probably gonna have to take a look at.
You would be required, as any other vendor, to have a state inspection as far as sanitary and food.
Yeah.
Let's put this on a work session.
Yeah.
Next week.
And I do have a question. I'm just wondering about what your intended timing is.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it's going to be seasonal. So it will be 4 months during the summer and 4 months during the winter that we would have it out there.
So you're kinda at the end of the summer, so
Yes, this
another
is
couple of weeks really isn't gonna.
well. So we're hoping. We're kind of in talks with a number of people, so we're looking to make a decision on the quicker end of it. We were hoping to do it before the 22nd of August. I'm just being unfamiliar with the system here. What kind of a lag is there between
Well,
the committee for that?
that's the other problem, an ordinance takes 2 readings.
Yeah.
So
About a
that's,
2.5 month span.
so that, yeah, it's about 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So even if we were to approve this tonight, you're still looking at 30, 45 days for it to come,
Before you
could do anything.
but would it be decided in that it's a wait, or that it would happen? It would be decided at 2.5 months out.
Well, we would approve it on the first reading.
Okay.
And then 30 days later, isn't it 2 meetings later, then we would have a final. It's just the way, but after that, it goes
It's
into
actually like a 2.5 month process.
2.5 month process.
Yeah, interesting.
I just need to, before we approve something like this, I need to talk with our legal counsel to see if this needs to be an ordinance modification.
Sure.
It's an exception or a way to go.
Right, and if it's not, if it's something we don't have to do that, then we can approve this on our next regular meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
Okay. So I guess I'll check back in.
Yeah, we will call council, I'll call first thing tomorrow,
I appreciate
find
it.
out, and get with Diane, and we'll find out what we need to do, and I'll have Diane get back with you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Chief?
Mayor and council, I'll refer you to my report. I have no request for action.
All right, any questions for the chief? So it sounds like all the events, the half marathon went uneventful, the Bob Cook went uneventful, so everybody's.
So we have one left, and that's China Kids. They did cancel. We canceled the C3 Public Safety Festival. And it had little to do with the park, and more to do with the fact that the person organizing it just had a baby, and they couldn't dedicate the time, so the sheriff elected to postpone.
The only event we had, grilling and chilling.
Non-event. As last year, there were more vendors and volunteers than we were thinking.
A non-eventful event.
Yes.
Any questions for the chief? All right, thanks for not asking us to spend any money, chief, because we're getting down to Dan in a minute. John?
Mayor and council, I refer to my staff report with no request for action.
All right, I had given John a call. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the sprinklers were going at about 5:30 this afternoon, 5:20. So people leaving the park because they were getting wet. John has already mentioned it to one of our staff members. It will be fixed tomorrow. The timers will be reset. So thanks for that, John. Give us a little bit of an update for Soda Creek.
Soda Creek is progressing. They are finishing up the road facing. Should be this week. The underground, for the most part, is finished. We're just still kind of waiting on Sturgeon or XL a little bit on the gas line and the electrical line that they had to lower again. And curb is just about in. They'll start on sidewalk, and then hopefully by possibly later this month, early next month, we will have it paved. They also started on Riverside, down by the condominiums towards the skate park today also.
And that's a couple things that I would like to say is when I noticed that they were starting to store stuff down at the skateboard park was last Thursday, I think. And then all of a sudden, all the ramps and everything, we had many ramps and everything were removed. And there's been some social media about that. And I didn't know about it before it got. But I do know the reason for us to take the equipment out of there. One is there's going to be a lot of construction down there. We didn't want kids or others trying to access that skateboard park down there and be playing around with this construction going on. And another thing the public needs to know is this skateboard park falls under what's called a 4F. It's a recreational entity that if it's removed or goes away, it has to be replaced. So that skateboard park, John's has been, because we've been talking about this for a few months now, looking at grants. I'm going to form, and I've talked to a couple of people about forming a steering committee about a location, what this should look like, and how they could be involved, the skateboard community within our city, to kind of come up with a good idea. Of course, we're not going to be able to build a 10,000 square foot skateboard park, but I think that this community and kids in this community deserve something nice. And we're looking very hard, and it will happen.
Much improved.
Another thing that I've been getting phone calls about, and those that live on Pine Slope, under the bridge over here on Soda Creek, it seems really narrow. And I had a couple of calls on it, and I even called the engineer and John. They said there's 24 feet in there, and that's 2 12-foot lanes. It's just the way it's laid out, and the road's not in. It looks really narrow and feels narrow. And the width of the street is the same as Central Minor. So once it gets paved, we'll see that there's plenty of room for 2.
Has those 2 rows of barriers up there.
Yeah, that whole side. So if there's talk about that, people that live up Soda Creek or on Pine Slope that come down through that area.
And the pedestrian lighting on the sidewalk
Right,
will be
we'll
going
have
in
pedestrian
right after.
Yeah, the conduit and everything is in, it's just,
Right.
we're not gonna put the lights up until the sidewalk and most of the construction is completed, so we don't get anything knocked down.
Okay. Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
All right, any questions for John, council? All right, Public Works, Dan.
Mayor and Council, referring my report with 4 requests for action. I did want to make a comment based on the auditor's comment. We're very cognizant of the Tabor status. We've spent many hours on the phone with CDPHE, DOLA, Water Power Development, as well as the engineers, and a lot of our funding is federal dollars, and we're actually working with DOLA, so we changed the percentage of our grant from them to try to get more percentage of those grant dollars dedicated as federal dollars instead of state for that. But we are very cognizant of the Tabor status.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. All right, do I have a motion?
Move to approve authorization of submission of the SRF loan application for $3 million before August 15th.
2019. August 5th, 2019.
No, 2019.
Okay, thanks, John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Michael Hellman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
All right. Do I have a motion for the second request, please?
Move to approve GMP for Project 2 of the WRRF expansion in the amount of $4 million from line item 5572-7310.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Michael Hellman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
All right. Do I have a motion for the third request, please?
Move to approve notice of award for the construction contract on Project 2 of the WWRF expansion to Fisher Construction for the agreed upon GMP of the understanding that, with the understanding that Fisher Construction design fee for the project will be waived.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All right, hearing none, roll call.
Michael Hellman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes,
Yes.
Bob Boland, John
Yes.
Curtis.
All right, motion passes, and we have a fourth ask. Do I have a motion?
Okay, I'll move to approve $200,000 from line item 5572-7310 for purchase and construction of tertiary filters as part of Project 1.
Do I have a second? Discussion.
I think this is a really important part of the project.
Yes,
To
sir.
moving this into project, into
Moving
one.
into project 2.
No, moving it into one.
I mean,
Yeah.
put this in project 1.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Beverly Hillman.
Yes.
Beth Canal, Tracy Stokes.
Yes.
Todd Bowman.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Committee reports. Under mayor and council, I'd just like to thank the public for being here. See familiar faces showing up every week. Appreciate that. Also, I'd like to thank our city staff and employees. Without them and what they do on a day-to-day basis, the city wouldn't function and operate like this. So our hats should be taken off. The public should take special recognition of what our department heads and our staff members do in this community.
Yeah, another just quick subject, just a comment that I'm assuming that everyone in the audience and certainly council members have noticed the amazing usage by pedestrians of our new sidewalk system. And it will continue to be expanded, and we are doing our best to become pedestrian friendly here. So, and it's working in spades, I think.
Anything else, council? All right, it is 7:54 and meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, I am, but that's,
Making very projects. Happy birthday. Happy
Oh, we already submitted our.